Hi guys, welcome. Today I'm presenting to you the newest version of Lite Scheduler, the scheduling tool for small contact centers up to 100 agents based on Excel, which is very easy to implement and will save you a lot of time compared to manual scheduling. So let's get started. So what is Lite Scheduler for the people watching who don't know yet what Lite Scheduler can do? It's basically a mini WFM suite within Excel where you can set up your automated scheduling process and distribute schedules to your employees. It also has a small forecasting module and a traffic management module, which we will get into detail a bit later. In this video, I will give you a brief explanation of how to set up Lite Scheduler and how to implement it into your operations. So first, let's have a look at all of the different tabs that you'll see at the bottom of the screen. So we have the My Schedule page, which is where your employees can view their own schedules. We have the Setup page, where we can set up the constraints of your operation, opening hours, skills, stuff like that, the service levels you want to achieve. Then we have our Agents page, which will allow you to put in the availabilities of all the different agents for each day of the week, and also some additional settings, so as to how many days are they working as a minimum or a maximum, and what kind of skills does each of the people in your team have. Then you have the option to put in your daily forecast. So for example, you can enter here your contact center volumes or your email volumes, but you can also use it to just put in the number of hours that you will need for a certain channel. Then we have our interval forecasting module, where you can break down your daily forecast to the interval level. One interval is always 15 minutes, so you can actually break down the total volume on a daily level towards the 15-minute intervals on this page. And then your final step you need to set up is your shrinkage forecast. So how many % of the planned hours do you expect to lose? This one you can also enter as a percentage for each of the 15-minute intervals, but you can also choose to enter the headcount per 15 minutes that you expect to lose after schedules have been generated. So once you've completed the setup, the number of agents and everyone's details, once you enter the daily forecast, so volumes and average handle times, and you have completed your interval forecast and the shrinkage forecast, then it's time to start generating the schedule. So if you've set everything up correctly, the only thing you'll need to do is push a button, which we will do now. And the application will start generating schedules. And during the generation process, the application will have a look at availabilities of people, also which skills everyone have, and what's happening now in the background. It will actually behave like you as a person would, as a planner would behave, starting out by scheduling the least flexible employees who have the least skills or have the least availability, or maybe have both, and then finishing your plan with the people who are the most flexible and have the most skills, because those are the pieces of the puzzle that are the easiest to fit in, so you want to schedule those last. Of course, this can pose some problems. For example, if you always apply the same order when scheduling people, then the algorithm will tend to always produce the same kind of schedules for everyone. So we have some randomization settings in the setup which can actually account for that and make sure that you don't have everyone getting the same shifts over and over again. But of course, if you have different holidays, it will already find different variations of the schedule. But in a situation where not a lot of people have time off, then there's a risk of having repetitive schedules. So this process will take about 5 to 10 minutes. So let's wait a little until it's fully done. And once the scheduling engine is finished, you'll get a message that schedules have been produced. And now you will get a message that all schedules have been published. So we can see for each day of the week you have a different tab. So we're looking at Monday right now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. In this case, this operation is closed in the weekends, so we have no schedules over there. So this is basically the view you will get as a planner. So after running the schedule, the first step I would recommend always is to have a look at the dashboard to see if the staffing requirements on the week are actually met. So we can see here that for each of the channels you get the summary of how many hours are scheduled for the schedule code and for which day of the week these hours are scheduled. And it will also make a comparison against the forecasted requirements you put in. And it will also produce a little story for you, which you can use to, for example, inform your manager how the next week is going to look. And at the bottom we see a graphical representation of the expected service levels for each of the different queues. So we see we have a little overstaffing here at the phone and back office, and we have two channels with some understaffing, which in this case is caused by a lack of enough resources with the right skills. So this will also be an indication you will need to train people for this skill. You also may want to have a summary of all the hours that were scheduled. You can have a look at this on the individual level, or at the bottom of the page you'll find the total number of hours for each of the activities, which you can then use for reporting purposes, or maybe even the salary run to see how many hours everyone was present and absent. And finally we have a small intraday management module which will let you have a graphical view of how many people were required at a certain interval, how many people are scheduled, which is the blue line, and what is expected to be left of the scheduled amount after compensating for shrinkage. And finally, of course, after you have done your fine-tuning, maybe scheduled your meetings, done some adjustments to the schedule, it's of course time to publish the schedule to your co-workers, to your colleagues, to your agents. And we do this by first of all hiding everything that doesn't need to be shared with the rest of the team. So we can actually hide the view that the planner has, and then we can publish this page through Microsoft Teams or SharePoint, or even a good old-fashioned network drive if you are working with that. It doesn't really matter. I personally really like to publish a schedule within Microsoft Teams, because people will just open this within Teams and everything will work. They can select their own name and they'll see the times that they will need to work. They will see it both in text, so I need to start at this time and I'm finished at this time. For people who prefer the graphical representation, it's also on the right side with these bright colors. If you need to make adjustment after the schedule has been published, the planner can of course unhide these hidden tabs and then adjust the schedules for each of the days. As you can see, the breaks are a bit scattered, which is in this case also one of the settings that was used. But if you don't like the break scatter, you can, for example, tweak the settings within the setup page. So for example, you can choose after how many hours people will get a lunch. You can choose if you want to apply extra scatter to the lunch times and break times. So there's a lot of room for customization, and you may have your different agreement with the workforce you're planning for. So this will allow you to tailor to those requests. And then finally, maybe let's zoom in a little more on the forecasting part. If you have phone channels, you can actually put in a service level target and a service level time, which will then use Erlang calculations to calculate the requirements for each 15-minute interval. But you can also set it to workload, which will then use a more flat calculation of the amount of transactions you'll need to do combined with the average handle time. And you can also use the chat function, which will ask you to put in how many chats your agents will be able to do at the same time. So there's 3 different ways of forecasting requirements within the tool. The good thing is that after you've run the schedule, you can still change these parameters. It will not change the schedule, but it will give you a different view of requirements, which you can then use to adjust the schedule if it's necessary. So for example, if you want to have a lower service level and you forgot to change it up front, you can still change it afterwards and then see the impact on getting your targets. So as you can see at the top of my screen, you see for each of the intervals, for each of the channels, how many people you have in surplus, or if you have any shortages, you can see how many people you are short for each of the channels. And of course, in the best case scenario, you will only have light green figures here, indicating that you have a perfectly staffed schedule. But in reality, that will of course never be exactly the case. But it will definitely help you in fine-tuning for each of the 15-minute intervals and making decisions in when to shift, when to change a shift. Well, as you can see, each of the agents is scheduled for a whole shift at a time. So you are scheduled the whole day for the same activity. The easiest way to bring some variation into the shifts is by simply changing the shift type in the drop-down menu, for example, like here. And then you can drag the interval to expand the amount of time for, in this case, phone. You can also just use Control Copy and Control Paste, Control C, Control V to stamp these certain parts of the schedule onto other agent schedules. So this is also a very easy way to optimize your staffing. Once you are done with the schedule, this can be used for fine-tuning. This is basically the most important functions of LiteScheduler. Biggest benefit is that it can be implemented within 1 day. So if you have an urgent scheduling need, then LiteScheduler is really fast to set up and really fast to understand because it's really simple. And the other big advantage is that it will save you a lot of time compared to manual scheduling if you're still doing that by hand, which is not really strange because many companies we visit still create manual schedules. It's also not bad to do that, but it's as your team grows, it can become very intense and take a lot of time. So that's where Lite Scheduler can really make a big difference for you and save you a lot of time, which you can then allocate to looking better after your people, investing more in traffic management, spend some more time doing forecasting, and in general have more focus on innovating your process instead of um, always running to meet the deadline for producing the schedule for next week, which I've seen happen many times. It can be really stressful, especially if you're not with a lot of team members that can help you with scheduling. Often there's one person who is really good with Excel that is tasked but with making the schedule. And when this person goes on holiday or leaves the company, you can sometimes get into trouble, or it can be a lot of work for someone else to create a schedule. And this is also one of the use cases for Lite Scheduler. You are mitigating the risk of when somebody with a lot of expertise is leaving the team, you can still easily generate the schedules with the click of a button. So I hope you liked our short presentation. If you have any questions on Lite Scheduler, you can put them below in the comments. Send me an email or visit our website. I'll be happy to tell you some more, and I can also help you out with sending you the demo version or give you a quick online tour to help you decide whether this could be a good solution for your contact center. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. See you later. Ciao.